I've been meaning to make a video covering the Ultimate Aliens for a while now. Of all the gimmicks introduced across the series, the Ultimates are generally regarded as the most popular, being my favourite by far. Put plain and simply, Ultimate forms of aliens are a result of putting an alien's DNA in a simulated war for 1 million years, resulting in a vastly more powerful form of any of Ben or albedo's transformations. The only drawback with this device in combat being that the Ultimate feature drains the ultimatrix's battery life faster than any normal transformation would. Originally, this gimmick debuted with Albedo wearing the ultimatrix at the end of Ben 10 Alien Force. The ultimatrix is Albedo's very own incomplete prototype of the omniverse that was stolen from Azimuth and given the evolutionary function to go ultimate. Before being taken by Ben and used across the Ben 10 Alien Force series, before being taken by Azimuth from Ben and replaced with a completed omniverse. Thankfully, the Ultimates make their comeback and return an omniverse with Albedo after he gets his hands on a DNA stabilizer. I love that they brought this feature back to Albedo. It always really felt fitting to him. I loved having a series where Ben could go ultimate, but giving it to what essentially is a variant of Ben is such a fun idea. It just feels so perfect for his character, it really just gives him something of his own. My real issue with the Ultimates is just how scarce they were. We see plenty of appearances of Ultimates, but it's the same 8 aliens on rotation. With that, only half the Alien Force roster even gets their own transformations, and beyond that we get the addition of classic aliens including Cannonbolt, Waybig and Wildmutt. Although we do get more transformations introduced in Omniverse. Now getting into the designs, this is where I see a lot of discourse amongst the community. As much as I think everyone is in agreement with how amazing the concept of having an ultimate form is, I see a lot of disdain for the looks of some of the Ultimates. The exception of the rule being the ultimate transformations for Echo Echo and Humongosaur. I for the most part like with what they're going for with most all of these designs, but I particularly like the transformations for Ultimate Humongosaur and Ultimate Spider Monkey. The ultimate forms seem to fall into one of two categories. Those who go through major physical changes, and those who go through slight physical changes, both of which swap out their color palettes and gain new abilities, often sacrificing other abilities. I see people take issue with the idea of a lot of the aliens in the second category. The ultimate forms of Big Chill, Cannibal, Waybig and Wildmutt don't really make changes in their appearance all that much. I can totally understand this point of view, none of them add that much of a difference in change to the original alien's design. Big Chill in particular only really gets a slight level of detail added along with a color palette change. I don't mind it, I think it works really well in motion, but for still images not so much. If I were to suggest a change for it, I'd lean into Big Chill being more of a big moth. Cannonball doesn't really receive a massive change, but I think swapping out the yellow elements, replacing with that spiked metal works really well. Wildmutt feels completely out of the blue. I don't mind the change in colour, but the design feels pretty lackluster to me. I don't get why he talks. And with Ultimate Waybig, he's going even further into the Ultraman series influence for this alien, but I get it, but I would have probably taken other elements from Ultraman as opposed to what they did borrow. Getting into the first category I mentioned, the aliens that undergo a significant change to their physical appearance. We've got Humongosaur, the first ultimate alien introduced, who looks absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't really change a thing. His powers, however, are a bit hit or miss. I personally feel like they're a bit of a hit, but the cannon arms aren't for everyone. Swampfire looks almost unrecognisable against the original Swampfire design. He's a little too round for my liking, but I still love the design as a whole. Swapping out that vine body for those more wooden details is great. I like this one a lot more the more I look at it. Even going into this video I was a bit whatever on it, but the more I look at it, the more I like it. Then we've got Spider Monkey, who is everything I could ever want out of an ultimate and more. I get that a monkey becoming a gorilla is a little bit off, but visually it's great. I love the jaw, I love the colour palette, the way the spider arms come out of the torso, it just all works so nicely together. Next up we have Echo Echo, whose appearance isn't that standout to me, but certainly works. This transformation really focuses on the sound aspect of Echo Echo over the duplication ability, being extremely effective. His fight against Ultimate Aliens Amalgam Kevin really comes to mind. After the Ultimatrix was recreated in Omniverse, we introduced the redesigns of Humongosaur, who looks even better somehow, Echo Echo, who has a nice level of detail that brings his design together, Ultimate Spider Monkey, who swaps out his spider limbs for the 8 regular limbs. We also see the introduction of additional Ultimate Alien forms, like with Grey Matter, who's a bit gross of an appearance but works so perfectly, leaning to that level of intelligence, sacrificing the physical abilities of the species but giving him this cute little floating chair that adds to the whole motif of being ultra intelligent. Then we've got Ultimate Arctic Iguana, who doesn't really stand out, but totally works. I have no complaints about this one. Ultimate Gravitac, who is absolutely perfect. I love the exaggerated details and new bodies, as well as those tiny little Gravitac spheres. And Ultimate Wrath, who feels just like a supercharged Wrath with a more interesting costume, feels a bit Kraven the Hunter to me. With the exception of Wildmutt, I don't really think there's an Ultimate form I don't love. With those categories I mentioned before, that we do have a bit of an outlier with Ultimate Ben having no visual changes whatsoever. This version of Ben 10,000 is able to go Ultimate in his human form. When our Prime Timeline Ben asks this version of Ben what powers come along with an Ultimate Ben form, Ben 10,000 replies with pretty much all of them. In this form, Ben is able to gain access to pretty much all alien abilities in the Ultimatrix. It's certainly an interesting idea, but I don't know how I feel about it. Now I've got the real problem with this device. Due to an issue with the evolutionary feature, the ultimate forms become sentient within the ultimatrix. Although this issue is entirely resolved in one episode, The Ultimate Sacrifice. During a run-of-the-mill fight against a robot, Ben transforms into Ultimate Humongous while fighting for control over the form with a now sentient transformation. Now trapped inside the Ultimatrix, we have this incredible sequence where Ben is surrounded by all the Ultimates he's been using up until this point. The Ultimates plan on sacrificing Ben as a way to free themselves from the Ultimatrix. Ben does actually try and sacrifice himself out of his own free will in order to set them free. This results in the Ultimates being released as well as Ben surviving. This results in the Ultimates going to live their own lives, leaving Earth never to be seen again. Although we do see what looks like the skull of Ultimate Humongous on Kyber's ship during Omniverse. This feels more like an Easter egg than an implication of what happened to that Ultimate, but who knows. The Ultimates have always had a special place in my heart. I love their out there designs and their concept as a whole. Their reappearance in Omniverse is a real highlight for me personally, especially just giving that back to albedo. I don't know how we never ended up revisiting the sentient Ultimate forms in Omniverse, but it feels like a bit of a waste. I would have loved to see a story arc about them, or even an episode dedicated to them. Even just one of them. Beyond that, I just wish we got to see more Ultimate forms across the series. I'd love to know what everyone else thinks of the Ultimates. Thanks for watching.